Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the TJR Auto channel. My name is Tyler. Behind me, we got the good old girl, Gemma the GTO. And on the other backside of me, we now have the LQ4 6-liter that in the last video, if you didn't see it, go check it out. We have it ready to this point, but we do need to get the heads on this motor, a couple other odds and ends, and then this thing will be ready to go into the car. So let's get after it. If you folks didn't check out my last video, I highly recommend you do. You would see that we got my LQ4 6-liter up to this point, cleaned up for the most part. I'm going to need to do some paint touch-ups, like you can see the paint flaked off the timing cover there, and it still needs some love. But for the most part, this is good. We like this. The next problem that we have is the $7.99 heads that I bought are basically just stock $7.99 heads. There's nothing special about them. So what we need to do is pull the valve springs out, all that jazz, and give these one final cleanup. You can still see some red paint lingering around, which I absolutely despise. So we need to give these a final cleanup, strip them down basically to bare bones, and swap in these dual valve springs that came out of my LS1. All right, guys, here's going to be a quick down and dirty little tutorial on how to use one of these spring compressor installer tools. I actually am not using the supplied hardware with it, because I may or may not have messed up one of the bolts that came with this, and you guys will see what I mean by that towards the end of this video, because now I have to wait for a helicoil kit to come in. Thank God. But here we are pulling the dual valve springs out of the LS1 241 heads. So what I like to do is position this H piece over the top of the springs where I want them, and then I will bolt down that back piece. And these bolts I'm not going tight, I just snug them up. Won't do nothing crazy. I also, on something like this, I have not been using power tools, and I'm going to try not to, because, you know, aluminum heads, and I don't want to mess something up. Even though these heads don't matter, still it's just not ideal. And now I have this bolt all the way up tight, and then this nut you begin to run down, which will compress the springs. So I don't know if you guys can be able to see it from where you are, but the springs start to compress. Once they get down a decent bit, probably like yonder-ish, what I'll do is I'll take my ratchet, the end of my ratchet, and I'll kind of just tap around, waiting for it to pop like that. Now I'll reach up under the head, take these little retainers out. These guys are tricky dicky. And same for the other one. There we go. Now we loosen this guy back up. All right, remove the tool. And now we will have our dual springs with their top seats or top hats. Not sure what they really call them. We got these out, but now we need to get the bottom ones out. So take your trusty dusty pliers, reach in and you grab your little seal, a little twist and a little pull. Yeah, there we go. Then you get these guys out. Now I ordered a new set of these. I actually didn't realize until I started pulling the springs out of the heads that they have different style ones due to the different springs. So I ordered a brand new set of these, as well as an install tool, because I think it was like 20 bucks for just the seals or 30 bucks with the tool. So well worthwhile. And for these bottom seats or these bottom perches, whatever you want to call them, what I've been doing is taking my angled pick and just barely getting the tip of it under one of the edges and pry a little bit, and you'll feel this almost pop. It feels like it's kind of suctioned down with the oil. So you just want to pop the one corner, and then from there you basically can just spin it right off. And I've been keeping them with their appropriate springs, just like that. Then we'll do this other guy. This is very little. Okay, heard that one pop. Boom, right out. And that is how you remove springs from an LS head. All right, guys, go figure. The video I was taking to show you guys the install didn't go as planned because my phone ran out of storage and the Verizon box kept beeping. So now, let's do a fresh install. So first things first, I spray a little bit of lubricant in, the top on top of the valves and like the valve spring seat area. So now I will take those little seats and I will pop them in place. They are a pretty good fit, so those go there. I like to spin it just to make sure it's good and nice and freed up, not jammed. And then we'll do the same for this little guy here. We'll make sure he is in there nicely, and he spins good. So that's good. That's a plus. That's what you want to see, I think. I don't know. I saw this in a YouTube video, and it looked cool. So now we take our little valve seals, right? There's these little guys. So these, you kind of just very carefully walk them on. And I like to pull the valve up and then push the seal down so the valve is all the way up top. Same for this guy. Just do it very gently. Kind of walk it on there. Don't want to rip it or hurt it or anything. And we're good. So now what we'll do is we take the BTR installation tool, which screws right on into the rocker bolt hole. I like to do roughly 10 threads, and this is, I don't know how many, because, yeah. And then this little guy is actually machined to fit right on top of that seal. You take a trusty dusty screwdriver. You don't even have to do a lot of force. That's it. Boom. Now it's installed. So at first I was very skeptical. It felt kind of light, but apparently that's all it does. And yeah, so I'm running with it. Pull that guy out. Run it in here. How's your guys' week going? Is it going good? I hope it's going good. I've had an interesting week. It's unfortunately been pulling me away from the car more than I've liked, but, life happens. Again, you can kind of feel bottom out. I usually do that extra little pump just to make sure it is bottomed out. But, yeah, so now our bottom seats and our valve seals are installed. Let's throw some dual valve springs in here. So I just like to inspect the springs, make sure there's no crazy dirt on them or anything. I have cleaned all these parts pretty good, more than once, unfortunately. But just with the amount of dust in the garage and whatnot, and the amount of stuff I have going on, stuff gets everywhere. So I just like to make sure that they're clean. All right, so now we take our little spring installation and remover tool. We will throw it into the rocker bolt holes. And the bolt that I'm threading in here is actually the one that I helicoiled. So hopefully it holds up to this. So, yep, it's scary, but it's working. So I'll take it. Now, let's make sure that everything's roughly lined up. You might have to kind of wiggle the springs around once you have some tension under them. It's really not the end of the world. It's fairly simple. You kind of take a screwdriver and kick them over. So, all right, that's snug. Gotta be careful with this one. That's snug enough. So now we'll roughly line these up, call it good there, and then start to tighten up the tool. This is the scary part, but kind of the fun part. Again, I'll make sure that my valves are sort of lined up so I don't hit them. Then we'll start running the tool down. Looking good so far. It'd be nice if I held that onto the nut. Might be nicer. Keep her going. Keep her going. All right, feels good about there. Make sure the valves are pushed up. Gives me a little bit more room to work with. And now we will take our little keepers, which are these little pesky fellas. Make sure they're decently clean. There's nothing but quality here at TJR Auto, as you folks know. Got that one in. Sometimes they like to hold in place if they have a little bit of oil on them. Other times I've seen they kind of just fall off. So if you pull the springs down too far, it can kind of bite you in the ass. But at the same time, yep, just like this guy is now. See, will they play nice? Will they play nice? Probably not. Good, I like it. And now I will slowly, but also kind of quickly, because I like to get this process over with. We will remove the spring compressor tool, and if all goes as well, like it should, yep, they grab nicely. Boom. That's it, people. That is how you install dual valve springs and brand new valve seals on your LS style head. I'm sure this is probably a very similar process for many motors, but I can only name this as LS style because this is the only time I've ever done this in my life. Let's run these out. Boom! That is how you install springs. All right, folks, next up on our to-do list is upgrading our rocker arm trunnions, and we right here have some CHE Precision trunnion bushing upgrades. So let's unbox these babies. I showed them in the last video for anybody who didn't see. Oh, that's weird. Half of the kit's missing. It's almost like it's almost like somebody started doing them. Look at how nice that looks. Hopefully you guys can see that. That is just so pretty. That's just so pretty. So this is what the upgraded ones look like. They literally just say CHE. And for anybody who's familiar with the stock trunnions, you can just visibly tell the difference right off the bat. But what I want to do is show you guys the difference between these, the reason why a lot of people recommend upgrading them, and how to do it. So here's a stock one, right? That is how much movement you have on your stock rocker arm. That's it. Boom, that's all the way maxed out, and boom, that's all the way maxed out. Now with the CHE upgraded one, and I'm sure this goes for some other brand kits as well, but you can follow the logo of CHE. Oh, look at that. Tree 60, baby. Tree 60. So these basically delete the stock trunnion, which is composed of a needle bearing setup with a set of, I believe they're brass bushings and just like a main bearing sort of deal. It's like a roller. I don't really know how to describe it, but way nicer. It's well worth the money. I forget what I spent on this kit, but knowing that I was pushing 7,000 RPMs on stock, stock trunnions, it's a little scary. And I've heard of people saying, oh, upgrade your trunnions. I never knew what the hell that was until I started building the 6.0, and my buddy Alex actually recommended I buy this kit. So let me show you guys how to take apart the old ones and how to put together with the new, with that, the new stuff, the new stuff, the good stuff. All right, so here we have our next rocker that we're going to be playing with. I have a 21 mil socket on the flat side of the rocker. You can see there's like these nudges on it. I don't know what you want to call them, but this side is flat compared to this side where it's just round all the way around it. So we have a 1/2 inch one here actually pressing on the trunnion, which will pop it into the 21 mil socket. So I'm going to crank on this a little bit. It doesn't take much pressure, but since I don't have this vise bolted down, I kind of got to put my elbow here and pray to God that it's not going to pop up and hit me in the face as I hang over it. But they have been coming out pretty easy, and this is what they look like, just so you guys know. This is what it looks like. So if you take these end caps off, you actually have little needle bearings. You see them all in there, all inside there. So if you're not careful taking these out, it will make a mess. I've been trying to put one of my hands under this to kind of catch it all and kind of throw it over there. So let's get this baby out. All right, guys, so this is all that we need to do the trunnion upgrade. So we have 2 brass bushings. I think they're brass. We have the main bearing thingy and 2 snap rings, and obviously our gutted rocker arm. So CHE actually recommends that you sand or Scotch-Brite the inside of here where the brass, are these brass? I keep calling them brass, but I don't know if they're brass. Too much reading. I don't know. They recommend you actually Scotch-Brite or sand the inside of here, but I've just been checking them with my pinky finger because I figure if I get stabbed by a metal splinter, the pinky is kind of useless. So yeah, but so far, so good. If there is a problem in any of these, I probably will try to work it out, but I have been good, thankfully. So first things first, you want to take one of these. I have a little bit of fresh motor oil in here. We just kind of throw that in. I'll just make sure that the surfaces are very well lubricated, like so. Then we will take the centerpiece part thingy, lube that up with oil, Drop that in there nicely. Lube up the other section. And now we will take the rocker arm, drop it in place, take the other bushing, throw that in the oil, swirl her around, get some Earl all over it, and pop it together. Now, as simple as that is, here is the hardest part. You take these little snap rings and you just got to pop them on the end. Now, these snap ring pliers absolutely suck ass, and I actually got these when I rebuilt the transmission in this car, RIP. But you kind of just work it in place, and then I've been aligning the snap ring with the letters because it looks a lot nicer. So that's that side, and now we have this one. Another thing too that is listed in CHE's instructions, which cool enough is actually on the box lid, is you want the sharp side of the snap ring away from the bushing. It's not possible for me to show you this on camera, but in person you can visibly see and feel the sharp side of the snap ring versus the softer side. So you want the softer side to be touching the bushing. And then pop this little guy on here. And I try to kind of work this in with my fingers as well so I don't overstretch it. Boom. That is how you do a trunnion upgrade. 360 degrees of rotation. All right, guys, so next up, before the heads can go on, we have lifter trays and the lifters. So I actually soaked the lifters in oil, clean, nice oil. Soaked them for a couple hours. It's one of those things where it's like, some people say it's good, some people say it's bad. Might be an old school thing. I don't know. You can't hurt it. And we have Mr. Alex behind the camera. So shout out Mr. Webkey Racing. He's the one that was able to get me a hookup on a lot of these parts. So everybody go thank Alex down in the comments below. But basically, we're just going to take our lifters out of the oil, throw them into their trays. There really is only one way they can pop in, like that. As you can see on the tray, there's two flat sides, and the lifter is the same way. So, and another thing too is we noticed that there's like a pinhole on only one side of the lifter. The other side is smooth. The other side has a little hole thing. So I'm just putting them all the same way, just because why not? Never hurts. Can't go wrong. Oh yeah, nice and ice cold oil. I need a heater in this garage. This is painstaking. But what we'll do is we'll pop all these lifters into their trays. I guess I can just show you guys in this first one. So we'll pop this in like this. Good. Okay. Now, one take. So now with this, you can see the dimple in the lifter tray compared to where the bottom is flat. Hopefully my finger is getting around there. These you want up because that will clear the bolt heads. So now we go over here. Probably should have taken the bolts out before this clip, but it's okay. Thank you, Alex. So now what I'll do, I'm going to drop that in there. Yep. So now, again, I just want to make sure my lifters are seated decently into there. And I gently will throw them into their place. Kind of want to work them in.
You really get the...
What? What did I do?
Set it upside down?
No. Did I? Yep.
Didn't you just say how the dimple...
All right. I can't get it out because my hands are oily. You know, guys, it's been one of those days. You know, you want me to be honest with you? You guys want to be honest with you? This clip is a lie. This clip is a lie. I'm fraudulent. Okay, I gotta be honest. I gotta come clean. We went to assemble one side to show you guys everything, and we found out I actually got the wrong head bolts. From mid 04 and backwards, so I guess what is it, 99? 90. So from 97 to mid 04 is, you know, I guess the first generation of the Gen 3 or the first rendition of the Gen 3. They actually use 3 different size head bolts, technically. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 10mm bolts in the top of the head, and then there's 5 long bolts, 3 long bolts, 2 shorties, and then 5 more long ones in the head. If that made any sense, that diagram looked beautiful in my brain. There goes Jake in the Subi. That blow off valve sounds kind of nice. Shout out to you, Jake, if you're watching. You probably don't watch because I know you're a very busy man. So the early Gen 3s actually use 3 different size bolts, where the later Gen 3s, which this motor is, uses 2 different size bolts. They use shorty bolts all the way around for the big bolts, and then just the 5-10 mils across the top. I still hate that Jeep. So, long story short, I have the wrong bolts. Unfortunately, we are not going to be able to get the heads on in this video, but we at least can get the lifters in, if I can get this tray back out. We got the trunnion upgrade done, we got the valve springs done, and everything's ready to go as soon as I can get some head bolts back in. So I'm going to fidget with this, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's correct. Oh, it actually came out. Oh, they stayed in. See, I'm used to when I took the other motors apart, the lifters just fell out of the trays.
Yeah, some
plastic
trays.
So now we're going to flip these back around. And I'm going to do exactly what I told you guys, where the notch is. I think I was fingering the wrong notch. That's why. Because there's a notch on the bottom, and then there's the notch on the center. The center notch is the one that...
What happening?
You want to... I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Something like that. Ah! It fits so much better. Then we got the one bolt. Yep. That's a 10 mil for anybody wondering. That's a 10 millimeter. It's about as far as I know about LS's. There's a lot of 10 millimeters.
On 8?
No, it's a 10, and the rocker bolts are an 8. Because I grabbed an 8 for these, and it's actually a 10. Because I hate my life. So that's how you install lifters in an LS. Very nice. Very nice. At least the motor looks decent. That's good. That's good. Good.